So hello and welcome to FinTech Today. We're here at the Innovate Finance offices who are kindly hosting us for 3 days for the judging for FinTech Awards London 2024. And it's great to welcome one of our judges. So maybe you could introduce yourself to everyone. Who are you?
Super, thanks Matt. Thanks for having me for 3 years, for putting up with me. My name is Neil Shah. I look after the tech sector at the London Stock Exchange.
So look, Neil, it's great to have you again. And you mentioned 3 years. May seem longer, I don't know. But I suppose it's a good question. You are one of our permanent resident judges, and we love having you with us. But we also appreciate you're a very busy man. So why and how do we get you to commit to do the judging every year?
Matt, when you and Charlotte and Stephen approached me in that first year, I was absolutely honoured. I knew absolutely no one in the fintech industry. I'm going to stick my hand up. All right, I was a tech guy. So I knew the tech side, but not the fin side. And that's been a bit of a learning journey for me over the last 4 years. So getting involved with this event, meeting some fantastic companies, actually learning what they do, not just the founders and CEOs, but the people doing the work could be the CFOs, the CMOs, the CISOs. And what I've come to appreciate is what a talented group of people we have in the UK. And it's helped me understand why we are the leading fintech sector globally. It's not just the companies, but really the people and the continuous cycle of innovation.
Yeah, and I suppose that you've sort of answered what I was going to sort of say next. Really, is
Sorry.
No, it is. Judging is. Many people have different ideas about judging. How would you describe the 2 days, 3 days that you're involved with being a judge? And be honest.
Look, it's intense, right? Companies have 5 minutes to come and present and 10 minutes of questions, so it's intense on them and it's intense on the judges, but it's so important because I think that there's so many fantastic stories, but they struggle with awareness. So what better way than to get involved in an event like this and present yourselves and hone that elevator pitch, right? You're going to have to use that with staff, with VCs, with advisors, anyone you meet. So it's got to be razor sharp. And I think an event like this allows all sorts of people across the organization to hone their skills and get put on the spot. It's not just me judging these things. You've got people who used to run regulators like Chris Willard at the FCA and people who've built tremendous businesses like Joanne Dewar, Stephen Kelly, who ran US software companies, Charlotte Crosswell, who used to work at the stock exchange many years ago, and our competitor. We won't go there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're right. We try to bring in people who really understand the industry.
Yeah.
Do you think that process, though, as you said, it is intense? This year, 82, 84 interviews over 3 days.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
That's why we're all getting tired. But do you find that process is really that important to keep it with the people, not just in a sense? We could take a slightly easier route of sitting the judges around and look at an online application.
I hate reading, Matt, so it's much more fun in person for starters. But we see a lot of applications, and my advice to companies would be that I've got a lot of respect for folks in PR, but you've got to own this, and you've got to own the story and present it not just on paper but in person. So I think the more people that can do that, the better their chances of actually winning something.
Yeah, fantastic. Obviously, London Stock Exchange. Sometimes we read some negativity, which I think is maybe frustrating for all of us because we're very proud of what we do as a country and what we're trying to do with different ones. How are you finding it at the moment in the market and maybe sentiment, sometimes sentiment versus reality?
Matt, I'm older than I look. I've seen a few cycles. So we're going to get through this. This isn't my exchange. It's not Julia Hogger's exchange. It's our exchange. And it's really important for the UK to have a strong exchange because ultimately it just gives all these fantastic companies options. We're not forcing anyone to IPO, but we want the best companies to have that option to IPO in their home market. It ought to be a right, really. And we're working through a whole bunch of reforms. It's the biggest reform agenda in about 40 years. So we can get to a place where great companies can start, scale, grow, and stay in the UK should they choose. And sometimes that's on the public markets, but it could be in private markets. And we're going to be the first exchange group globally that's agnostic between the two. Generally there to help these companies get to a good place and have a good experience. And where they don't have a good experience, we'll talk about it and see what we can do to make things better. But let me leave you with some positives. So we've had 6 IPOs year to date, about £7 billion raised in total, including from about 100 companies that have tapped the market for follow-on cash, and that's something that London's really good about. There's companies that have floated and then come back to market, like Malta Ventures, raised every year for about 5 years. Augmentum's come back a few times in the fintech space. And tomorrow we've got Alpha Group that started on the AIM with 30 people in one office, £8.5 million of revenue when they floated in 2017. And now it's a £110 million business, about 450 people, I think, across 9 offices. The shares have gone from about £2 to £20, and it's a story that just doesn't get enough publicity. So my ask to everyone is share a good story on social, and I think that'll drown out the bad news out there.
That's a really interesting point, because you make there that and the reason I said something is about sentiment versus reality. Sometimes sentiment in the market can be quite negative because of maybe what we read, but I think for the clients and the people that I work with, FTSE 100 companies, smaller AIM-listed companies, actually everyone I'm talking to had a pretty good 2023, and 2024 started really well, which is very different to sometimes just to what we're reading and hearing about. So, okay, there are challenges, but is there something that maybe some of the companies that can do that you would find that would help them to have maybe a stronger listing, get to market quicker, sooner?
Great point. I don't think that enough companies in the UK, not just in fintech, think about IPO. And I would love more companies that made that their North Star. There's a fantastic podcast by Reid Hoffman, IPO versus M&A, and he talks about his journey with PayPal, with LinkedIn, and making that IPO the North Star. And whether you get there or not, I think it's just really good discipline to get the company in the best possible position, and it will make for a better sale, right? Because you're going to be bought versus sold. And you have that option to go public and stay independent should you so wish. So I think ignoring the hype, going beyond the board and your VCs and speaking to people who've done IPOs, the good ones and the bad ones, because there's learnings there as well, right? What can go wrong, and using the time well. So don't rush these things. Take your time, prepare. Start operating like a public company in the private domain, and I think that will set you all well up for the end result. And people have to remember that an IPO is never an exit. It's just another funding round, right? So you don't optimize that IPO price because you want that to be the lowest point from which you'll then raise equity. And I think the best companies are those that underpromise and overdeliver. When Romy floated PensionBee, she was dead set on becoming profitable. And last year they delivered profits, and she's been rewarded by the market. Wise is above issue, trading well. Phonics has had a good ride on the markets. Other companies have had slightly more challenging times, like LendInvest. But you look at the mortgage environment today, and you can see why. But when I speak to Rod, he fills me with excitement about the things that he's working on. And I think what you'll find in London is patient investors that are human at the end of the day, and if you could have a sensible chat with them and tell them where you're taking the business and you're honest about things, I think they can be really supportive and back you for tens of years.
Well, that's really encouraging for us all to hear. And I suppose my final sort of question really is, we've seen a pretty good start to 2024. How do you think we're going to finish? Is it going to be a bit of a damp finish, or is it going to be a strong finish? Where do you see us going?
I think things can only get better from here, Matt. There's so many people going to elections around the world this year. So we're going to see political stability once we've got new governments in so many countries. I think rates are on a trajectory to come down. So that's going to help so many businesses with their fundamentals, but also mean that cash is a safe asset to sit on any longer, and people will be looking for riskier assets like equities to help them. I think those factors, those macro factors, geopolitical factors, together with all the reforms that we're putting through, are going to put us in good stead. And let's not forget that there's a whole bunch of fintechs that need liquidity. VCs, LPs want their cash back, and this is where I think IPOs and M&A can help. And there's going to be multiple winners here. So there's a famous quote by Sir John Templeton. From Franklin Templeton, and it goes like this: that bull runs are born on pessimism, rise in skepticism, mature in optimism, and die in euphoria. So actually, having a few cynics around is quite healthy.
Yeah, brilliant. So that's, thank you for that. So really appreciate your time. On a personal note, it's been great the last 3 years working with you. Hasn't always been easy with some of the decisions, but that's what makes
it's never easy.
But that's what makes it exciting and fun. And the great thing is about June the 12th is you can relax, all the work is done, and enjoy the night. So thank you again.
Thank you, and thank you for introducing me to so many wonderful people in this industry.
Brilliant, thank you very much.